It's not, hold on. Hey everyone, welcome to what is the place on Fridays where You Define Wellness brings to you network providers to talk about a particular modality. And today we're going to be talking about what is CBD. And we have invited Rachel Cole, the owner of Serenity Remedies, to join us today, educate us and inform us. And you get to participate by asking your questions in the chat box or just watching this video. So Rachel, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're one of the experts on CBD that I go to anytime I want to learn about it. And this is something that is becoming more common in a lot of states across the country, across other nations. And I think there's still a lot of confusion as to what it's all about. So this is your opportunity to inform all of us on the truth. So feel free to jump in. It's all yours.
Well, first, thanks for having me. That's really sweet. Excited about your new forum. And there goes my phone. My apologies.
Perfect timing.
Oops, it must be 8 o'clock. So CBD. Yeah, I've been in this industry since 2015 and done a lot of research with it. CBD stands for cannabidiol. It is a cannabinoid from the hemp plant. I think hemp now, before most people don't know, most people seem to know now that the hemp plant, there's the slang term would be marijuana. That is a derogatory slang that was created culturally to hold down this plant and this industry by numerous other industries many, many, many years ago. So we're moving beyond that process. Marijuana seems to have the affinity for the THC side of things, where people use it medicinally, but they also use it recreationally. I'm more on the side of the full spectrum cannabinoid hemp plant that I grow in my farm that has below 0.3% THC, very small amounts to one, because it's federal regulation, state regulations, and two, I don't like the high part, which most people who are functioning want the anti-inflammatory, analgesic, all of those from the plant. They want to get that without the psychoactive effects. THC has some positives to it. And I am always on the spectrum of full spectrum with the very, very low count of THC in my products and the plants that I grow. And CBD seems to be the molecule right now that has taken storm. It's everywhere now. Mm-hmm. I do suggest, being smart on the products you buy, being smart and researching who you're getting things from, just to kind of throw that in there. So CBD,
be careful buying it from 7-Eleven, like I saw it there yesterday.
Yeah, and I get a lot of people. It's interesting. The industry now is, I don't trust your industry. That's the conversation. I went out there at some festivals and had some conversations, and people are like, yeah, I know, I've tried it. It doesn't work. There's a lot of quick fix, quick make money people, and it's just the way this democracy runs. It's on consumerism, so and making money. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of is inhibited. People will isolate the CBD down, and you have to take large amounts of the isolated form. Difficulty with that is it pisses the body off after a while, and it sends up red flags and says, oh, we need to protect ourselves from this invader. And then you build tolerance to it after a while. So the suggestion, recommendation I strongly make is always buy a full spectrum of whatever you're buying. Buy a full spectrum oil, full spectrum salve, so that you get all the other cannabinoids. There are hundreds of cannabinoids in these plants, and we have only deeply studied maybe 3 or 4 of them so far, the THC and CBD being the biggest ones. CBC, CBG, which is a precursor for all cannabinoids to start, is also making its mark now on the industry and coming out and being much more viable. So I always suggest you get a full spectrum so that you don't need to take a whole lot unless you're dealing with something like cancer. CBD is a cancer killer. It's apoptotic and prolific for cancer. for many cancers. And and that usually is so much more effective in larger doses, and that's a very extreme. I've had people with bone cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer, brain cancer, that have all used it and come out the other side successful of getting rid of. And I have a lot of people with cancer that use it for maintenance to keep it away. I keep it on my skin because I can pop skin cancer pretty simply and pretty easily, especially because I've been out in the farm a lot and in the sun a lot. And I just keep it on my body now because I've popped it a few times. But if I do something I will put it on there 4 or 5 times a day, and it will, the cancer itself will disintegrate, fall off, or disappear. So been very, very good and very lucky with that. It's my medicine cabinet at this point. So basics about the cannabinoids itself and hemp. There's a few different styles and types of hemp. They say there's a sativa and indica, basically a rubrialis, which is what they grow, the really tall without all the buds on it, for fiber. But this plant can be used for fiber, for oil, for gas, or fuel, for clothing. I mean, it's just, the uses are phenomenal at this point. Why it was ever taken off. This plant has been on the planet for thousands and thousands of years, long before humans even came upon. So it had its uses for the universe for whatever reason the planet decided to grow this plant. And it's been used since we've been around. And having it come back is a great thing. And getting it and being an activist for it has been an honor, right, for the plant itself. So CBD comes, and the cannabinoids come from the trichomes. So a hemp plant, the female hemp plant, in the buds is where you find the medicinal chemical makeup of all the different cannabinoids that are medicinal and healing. And there's something on there that's sticky. If you've ever touched a bud or any type of hemp plant or marijuana, it's very sticky. That's the trichomes on the top, the oil and the trichomes. In the trichomes, they're tall and clear, but on these plants carry the cannabinoids in them. So we extract from bud to get from the flower of the plant is where you'll find the medicinal. There are some very small amounts on the leaves, but the leaves are different. They also have a different chemical makeup. So most of what comes from the bud itself. And we extract as much in all cannabinoids as we possibly can. Right now we're still doing CO2. We are going to have some different things like pressed come out, things like that. But right now, and the basic reason why is from a car accident I had, and it worked. My daughter turned me onto it, and it worked on my pain. And so I did some research on this. It also worked with my PTSD beautifully. And then the anxiety that came after the PTSD. So this is kind of the happiness drug. It's a happiness molecule because it works in the body to where it, from my understanding, blocks the reuptake of the serotonin and stops the FFA, which is a fatty acid, which actually cleans out serotonin in the synaptic gap of the neurobiology. So the serotonin stays in the body longer. So, and the FFAH stops the anandamides, works on it breaking down. It stops the breaking down of the anandamides. So in simplest terms, it's a happy molecule. It helps with anxiety. It stops that massive anxiety process. Now, I've had a client that was taking serotonin and then started taking a lot of CBD for the happiness, for that. And the problem is she ended up with serotonin storms because she topped over the other side. So you get to be very careful with interactions with this stuff. If you're taking larger doses, it does interact with the neurobiology. And if you're taking, medications with that, you get to be really smart. Most doctors seem to be now pretty hip to it and can do the research because it's out there on interactions. So always talk to your doctor when you're messing with this. I had one person, she had some slight serotonin storms happening because she was taking it. And this is before she connected with me about it, said, what's going on? And I'm like, you need to either stop intaking, because you're doubling up yourself. You're taking serotonin, your body's creating serotonin, and now you've got the CBD in there, which also interacts with that serotonin receptor reuptake. So, so be smart with that, okay? And any and all, because if you're on regular medications, you really should have that conversation. If you're not on medications, then it doesn't happen so much, right? Other things it works on. Most people know it's an anti-inflammatory and a neural block. So the anti-inflammatory, which, I mean, I'll put it on my face. I haven't gotten it on there yet this morning, so I'm all puffy. But I put it on for my skin. It's also up circulation, helps with exfoliation and things with skin and cellular regeneration. It helps with the inflammatory process in the entirety of the body, which is rather amazing what it does for that. It's an antioxidant and a neuroprotectant. So antioxidant for the brain, neuroprotectant, especially for the brain. Some of the research they're doing now is for people with Alzheimer's and different things. There's some research showing that posits that it might be really great for brain health. And for older folks to get that circulation going. Also, there's a lot of damage that can happen especially like for brain damage and things like that. So being the neuroprotective, I make it a mandatory for myself to keep taking it. It really does help clear that up. So what else? It's great for people with autoimmune difficulties. So, and arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, especially, that's a big one. And that I have that in my hand. So, and it seems like from my experience that they're healing. I used to not be able to knock, and I can knock on doors now. And my rheumatoid arthritis is so bad, my fingers would pop out of socket, and they don't anymore. So that's from being a sculptor too, and from working. So this calms that autoimmune response. It also is great for arthritis and healing arthritis. I think the older folks, us baby boomers, are the ones that really kind of put this on the map, besides the parents who use it for kids with seizures. It really, that seems to have been some of my biggest clients to get this rolling, was the baby boomers, to get this industry going, because they are tired of taking things for their liver difficulties and for their pain and for their arthritis, and wanted something healthier. And this is works so well. It's an adaptogen. So it balances the body's ability for homeostasis, is what it does. That's why it works on both sides of the spectrum on many things. Because it can work on depression as well as anxiety, because it's working on those receptor sites to find balance and harmony with the body. And regulate it, which is just, amazing. The cannabinoids and CBD, they work on something called the endocannabinoid system, which we naturally have in our bodies. So our bodies were kind of built around having these cannabinoids in our bodies, and in our system. Turmeric actually enacts, I think, on that system that we have, but cannabis seems to work the best. So for those CB1, CB2 receptor sites, for it to work on it. Let's see, where else should I go with this? Vascular system. I'm just kind of throwing information out at you. So just kind of tickling different areas. So if people they could research more on it. So I'm just kind of tickling and throwing up some ideas here and there for what's out there. It works on the vascular system. It softens the tonality of the vascular system and up circulation. I have people that use it also for blood pressure, and they also use it for diabetes numbers, lowering diabetes numbers. Now, definitely work with your doctor on this one. I had a gentleman that used it for diabetes numbers, and he was taking another medication for that. Started taking this, and his numbers went way down, and his doctor had to pull him off the CBD, lowered his other meds, put him back on the CBD after 10 days they regulated, and then figured out slowly how to adapt his body properly so it wouldn't plummet, and found his happy medium. to where he knew exactly what he needed to take, but he worked with his doctor on that, so he could get off his other medications, which have adverse side effects for him. So I can't stress enough to work with your practitioners and to work with your holistic people,
Yeah.
because your holistic and your herbal health folks are going to have one set of piece of information with plants and herbs that still can interact, and then you have your regular doctors who understand the pharmacology part of some of the medications. So just got to be really, really smart about that. I think that's probably part of the reason why the government has kind of left it a little more regulated, because they have a concern about, I mean, if people weren't on other medications, then it's fine. You could take it. It's not that big of a deal. But because pharmaceuticals are so apparent and so, I don't know, they're just everywhere at this point for everything, that as soon as you change, your body's chemical makeup, then the medications are going to work differently. And the CBD and cannabinoids can affect those and affect how the body will metabolize them.
And that's a really good disclaimer. I know that from my own personal experience, I'm seeing that more Western medicine doctors are becoming familiar with CBD and even starting to recommend it. So I find somebody who understands what's going on there. So that's fantastic. So let's jump into some questions and answers. Is that good for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I just one last little thing. I didn't say, well, the immune system it works on, but it also, for women out there, it works with the bones and the bone structure, bone system, and can strengthen bones and bone reabsorption. So women should be on this anyway, especially for the osteoporosis side of things. Yeah.
We talk a lot about collaboration in these what is, because that we originally designed these events for other health and wellness professionals to learn about other modalities so that they can provide better service to their clients, and as well as refer them to the experts that they need to. So the health and wellness professionals out there, where do you recommend that they go to start learning about CBD if they really don't have a lot of in-depth knowledge?
Well, the great thing that's happened since, because we've gotten it out there, because when I started, there was not a lot of research. There's a lot of research out there going, and it's ongoing now because this plant is just incredible. But the main man who has been doing this since the 70s is Dr. Russo, Ethan Russo, Russo. And there, if you go to YouTube, they have got him talking pharmacology. They have got him, and he's really great. He is my go-to guy. If I have a question, I can send him an email and I can get a response. I am part of the cannabis clinicians. So I'm a registered cannabis clinician, which he is a part of too, and does a lot of lectures. So I do a lot of listening and learning from now major doctors, MDs that are involved in this. He was kind of the lone wolf when it's all was getting started. So I suggest the YouTube and going there and listening to the man who knows what he's talking about. There are some good books out now that you can use as reference. So they have references, interactions, that kind of thing. So pick up at least for practitioners, I would suggest picking up a really good, I know the store in Boulder always seems to have a lot of really good books on cannabis and the medicinal side. And reference. There are quite a few good ones out there. So take a look and see what, would work great with your business. They can always call me. I do a lot of research. It's interesting because I have just individual clients now. They just individuals call, and I will do the research, and I will do a session with them and teach them about the cannabinoids, talk about what they're going on specifically with them. And then I'll research the medications they're on to see. And if I have a flag, then I'll raise the flag for them and then tell them to go talk to their doctor about this flag and this. How would we work? And then I will work together through the client with their doctor. So just to kind of be really smart about it.
Thank you for saying that, because I want to point that out to those who are watching this video, is that if you don't know where to start and you're dealing with things, you have people like Rachel out there who you can turn to that you're not going to get from the neighborhood dispensary. You're not going to get from 7-Eleven or the gas station where they have it on the over the counter. go to the source. You're also not going to get it with some MLM companies out there selling it. So go to these strong resources, and we can introduce you to them, and we'd be happy to introduce you to Rachel and as well. And we will make sure that her contact information is in the comment section of where we have this posted, so that you can reach out to her directly. That's awesome. Thank you for saying something about that, because that's important.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Yeah, it's super important because a lot of people are on a lot of medications and they're looking for alternatives now. There have been a lot of people coming up lately that have been on medications for years and years and
Yeah.
years, and their livers are unhappy, or because pharmaceuticals throws the balance off. You're
Yeah.
adding one molecule and it throws everything off, and then the body tries to balance itself and it can't. So and a lot of people are finding out that they can substitute, they can come in and augment with the cannabinoids with a lot of things.
Yeah. So I want to end on one last thing. Is where you and I started talking before we hit record on this, and you've given me permission to bring this up, so I'm going to bring it up. So if you're watching this video, you can see Rachel has a lot of energy and very passionate about what she's doing, and she absolutely uses her products, but she's using them in an interesting way that I thought would be important to mention for the times. So Rachel, you received your first dose of the coronavirus vaccine, and you unfortunately had a bad reaction to it. You're one of those that it's lingering. You immediately turned to your CBD. Tell us about that.
Oh, well, it was interesting. I got the shot, waited 5 minutes. This is 3 weeks ago, and it was a Pfizer shot. And driving back from Castle Rock, my neck stiffened up. And I felt like I had an elephant sitting on my chest. That was my first response. That was the anaphylactic response. So I'm hauling to get home at this point. And once I got home, I went straight and got my CBD, slathered my neck, my chest, and I took a bunch. And I sat there and waited because I could feel the tingle. I could feel it up in my mouth. I could, and it was like, okay, am I going to have an anaphylactic response to this? And it calmed it down. As soon as I hit my throat and took it, it calmed everything down. The pressure went away, and started breathing again with that. I called my holistic doc, Dr. Scott Story, amazing man, and said, okay, I've had this response. And then I got really sick. Then I got really, really sick. I mean, the headache, nausea, the fatigue to the point I couldn't get out of bed. I have an autoimmune process, and that attacked all my joints. At one point within 24 hours, I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't move my hands. I couldn't stand up. It was crazy. And I had CBD next to me so I could rub it on my joints, and finally got that. I finally gave up and just went back to sleep. But the response to this thing is still going on. I ended up with swaths of shingles on the sides of my body. I had a whole swath because I had a flare up. It's interesting. I did good. I did terrible for 2 weeks. I did good for 3 days, great for 3 days. And then yesterday I got hit again. And what's happening is my body's creating cytokine storms because of the shot. And I have this overactive system. And I ended up with swaths of shingles across my midriff here.
Yeah.
Immediately when I woke up, I put CBD oil on it a few times during the day. And within 12 hours, it went from full blown to, I don't know, probably 3/4 gone. Just from putting the CBD on the shingles. Right. It got rid of the pain, the itch, amazingly. The only reason I'm actually really functioning at this point is because I'm on CBD, because I got up this morning, still not feeling great. But as soon as I take that, it seems to help with all the aches, the pains, the joints, the headache, the nausea. So I have a lot of long haulers that have had COVID that are living off of CBD right now, because it just helps amazingly. And that's why I am actually functioning today. So.
Well, we're glad you are. And I'm always hesitant to mention something about the vaccine shots, because it's such a political thing. You're one of the rare ones who had such bad reaction, but you knew immediately what to do and to pull it from your medicine cabinet. We do have a question on Facebook that I want to go ahead and ask. What about selling CBD across state lines? What rules are there?
Well, selling it across state lines now is legal. It's federally legal in all 50 states. That came through. I think some states might regulate it. It's like there are little pop-up flare-ups that happen in individual towns,
Mhm.
to where it used to, they would pull them off shelves and say no. And, that's really subsided now that the federal government has got itself behind it.
Mhm.
They still have some regulations on it, but for shipping purposes, no, we don't have any problems. Even if the state or that town says, you know what, we don't want CBD in our town because the states are regulating that part of it, it still can travel through their town because it's federally legal.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So any final thoughts? What would you like to add?
For me, just to be smart about, the type you get, where you get it from.
Yeah.
Don't go to the 7-Eleven if you don't, if you really want to get something that's of a top quality. And there's quite a few vendors out there and farmers that are creating really great products. And if you need to do the research and you understand research, go to Google Scholar and you can Google CBD with anything, with cancer, with bone, with whatever goes on. Or you call somebody who can translate it for you, to find out what you need, or talk to your doctors about it. Doctors still cannot prescribe it per se, but they will also not go against it. Most of them now say, okay, go. I've had quite a few in the last few weeks. So that have said, my doctor said I can go ahead and use it. I've got the okay. So I just say be smart about how you're using it, and find a professional to talk to who understands it. Cannabis clinicians have a great website. Dr. Rousseau has a website you can go to with lots of research on it. And I trust him. He's been in the industry for a long time.
Yeah, and I put your website on the comment section as well, so that people can
Okay. We will be updating it. We're updating it now. So, if you need to order anything, you have to call or shoot an email at this point, because I've got computer people playing with my website at this point. And you can still get to the website. There's good information there. And you can always call and set up an appointment. I will chat with you. No charge. I'm here to educate.
Fantastic. Rachel, I appreciate you doing this today, especially knowing that you are not feeling 100%, but
I
you
mean,
are definitely an expert that we appreciate you sharing the information out there. It's a lot to learn. Start with an expert, guys. If you're looking to move into starting CBD, start with an expert. Learn what it is that
mhm.
you're doing. We use it personally in our family. We absolutely love it. And it's our go-to as well. So with that being said, thank you all for joining us today and learning from Rachel Cole on what is CBD. And we hope to see you at another one of these every single Friday morning.
Thank you, Denise.